Good afternoon. I'm Brenda Schroeb, a worship associate here at Community Church, and I welcome you on behalf of our ministry team, our staff, and our lay leaders. It's good to be together, both in person and online. Community Church is a multiracial, multicultural, multi-generational congregation with a vision and commitment to a world grounded in equity and inclusion. With me today is Jerry Brown, our Director of Music, our talented choir, Reverend Jude Geiger, our Minister for Community Engagement, and Reverend Peggy Clarke, our Senior Minister. Darnell White, our musician in residence, is on a national tour and will return to us in December. Community Church is in transition. We have sold our church building and are in the process of finding another in this neighborhood. We are guests here at the Church of the Incarnation in the meantime, for which we are grateful, even if this beautiful space isn't perfectly reflective of our theology. Children are always welcome during worship. Feel free to move around the space or to move back and forth to join programming happening in the loft. The sound of babies crying or children fidgeting is a beautiful part of being in community. Masks are optional, but encouraged. We ask that everyone is respectful of each other's decisions and need for personal space. Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing together our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit, in the gray hymnal number 347.
Sacrifice will kindle the flame. Good afternoon. The title of this service, which I think is probably on your program there, is The New Normal. We're spending a little time just thinking about what has changed. 2.5 years later, what is American society looking like right now? So let's begin. We gather today in memory of all who have gone before us. We gather today in gratitude for all of those here with us. We gather today in hope for all we will create for those after us. Come, let us worship. Let us live in community together. Please rise in body or in spirit. We're going to light our chalice and we'll begin by singing.
We light this candle, the flame of our heritage. May it ignite hope in our lives, in our community, and in the world. I invite you to join with me in the unison affirmation, as in your order of service. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and the school of all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all that separates and divides and always magnifies humanity and peace, which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all persons one beloved community. Unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and our hearts.
Please join me with our land acknowledgement. We are gathered on the unceded land of the Lenape peoples. We acknowledge the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And now it's time to greet your neighbor.
Spirit of life, God of many names, source of abundant love. We pause before the end of summer and the birth of autumn. In our city of stone and metal, we sometimes miss the constant little changes that lead us toward the more profound. Help us to slow our pace long enough to feel the cooling of the air, to greet the changing colors, and to say goodbye to the robins. So too in our stories, we often forget that our lives are not as constant as they seem. Our children are slowly growing. Our classes will begin and end semester after semester. Our employment will not last forever. We will find that next job. We are aging. Remind us to honor what is passing before us, to love what is with us right now as best we can, and to keep hope alive in our hearts for the days ahead, what they have in store. We are ever able to choose to face the joys and sorrows with a sense of appreciation for the little things that only bring a smile to our own lips, for the stories we enter for a time, for the lives we are honored to know, and for those who are blessed to know us. Mother of hope, bless us now with an openness to what's to come. Soften our hearts before the everyday compassion we witness, for the small daily acts of kindness we give freely, for the warmth we show when the awkward smile is all we can give. The act of living is a miracle we can never fully explain, only a gift we are given, a gift we are blessed to share as wide as we can. We hold in our hearts this hour the people of Florida, most harshly impacted by Hurricane Ian. May our nation come together to help those in need. And may we figure out ways in our global story to change our practices that have contributed to storm after storm. Amen, and blessed be.
Quest of truth.
Today's reading is by Sekou Andrews, the spoken word artist. All inspiration really is a peephole into possibility. There is a wall, and then suddenly something shakes it, disrupts it, and there's a crack that appears, and you can see something on the other side. And there is a power to simply being able to say, I see it. Our musical response is in the Teal hymnal, Freedom is Coming, number 1035.
Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming, oh, freedom, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh, yes, my freedom.
In the middle of March 2020, New York moved indoors. Schools shut down, restaurants closed their dining rooms, subways took the night off, arenas cleared their calendars, even Broadway turned off its lights. We were told it would be 2 weeks, right? Then it was a month, maybe 2. The streets were eerie in their silence, broken only by sirens reminding us of our dystopian reality. Life transferred to online forums. We worked, went to school, attended concerts, went to court, had family holidays, visited old friends, worshiped, practiced yoga, even prepared meals online. As boredom partnered with anxiety, we needed whatever social contact we could get, so we learned Zoom and we got creative. I'd like to take this sort of 20-minute sermon time to just pause and to take stock. Let's look at where we are. What happened as a result of those dramatic days? American life has changed, and while in some way it's too soon to know how and in what way and what's permanent, we are standing in a doorway, knowing well what's behind us and peeking into what's before us. I like that vision from the reading. There's a crack in the wall, and we're just gonna look through. Because threshold moments can pass without notice, or we can be awake to the changes. We can be intentional about our role in cultural transformation. For the first time in 100 years, we prioritized health over everything else. Right at the beginning of the lockdowns, I told my family, in all earnestness, I said, our task is to stay alive. We didn't know what else was happening. That was all we had to do. Let's just focus on staying alive. And we weren't the only ones who had that goal. All of New York, most of the country, and most countries on the planet did the same. Policies shifted to accommodate that one goal: stay alive. A moratorium on rent, federal grants to prevent paycheck disruption, the child tax credit, and major interruptions in transportation were all designed to keep people safe, ranking health over the economy. And as much as we say that health is the most important thing, this is the first time in any of our lifetimes when our culture reflected that adage. That line is said as a reminder in a world where money is in fact first priority, no matter how much we say otherwise. We've set it up so most people can't even access health care if they don't have a job. But there we were, living into our stated values, supporting people's health, keeping people safe, and we were moving financial mountains to do it. 2.5 years later, we're shifting back into something resembling normal. We're eating out, going to the theater, celebrating birthdays, shopping for clothes. We're doing so many of the things we used to do, but the world feels different. Jill and I were just saying before that something is off. It's like the rhythm of the city, the heartbeat that was always here, it's just off. I think we're getting our bearings. We're trying to catch our collective breath. We know something has changed. It could be years, even decades, before we take stock fully. We've experienced collective trauma, both in the massive loss of life and in the destabilization of social systems and cultural assumptions. If history can be our teacher, it's too soon to know the implications exactly, but we can certainly get a sense of what might be to come. The Great Depression brought us both FDR and Hitler. We again see these dueling ideologies gaining traction. On the one hand, we're calling for social programs to meet our current needs, from massive vaccine rollouts to student debt relief to a shoring up of our infrastructure to the largest climate action ever attempted by our government. On the other hand, we've become hyper-polarized. We've decreased human rights, weakened our democracy, limited access to voting booths, we're confusing propaganda with news, and we're targeting immigrants, putting them on buses and planes in the way those deemed outsiders were once put on ships and eventually in boxcars. Both hope and hate are on the rise, and whether we want to admit it, whether we like it or not, that is true on both sides of the aisle. Americans want big, bold ideas, life-altering change. That seems universal. People are done. Something shifted, and we want something new. But what that means, what this new society should look like, is under dispute. Those are big things I think we can all really feel, we see, we in some way can't get away from. But there are some really subtle changes too. There's an increase in mental health issues, with depression leading the way. Concerns are so high, a panel of medical experts suggested that doctors screen children, teens, and now adults under the age of 65 for anxiety, which they say has reached extraordinary levels, fueling an ongoing mental health crisis they're saying will last for years. Divorce rates. First they went down, like 2020, 2021, they went down, and now they skyrocketed. And there are no definitive answers to why. Did couples stay together because of the pandemic? Did they find the slowing down of life gave them the time they needed to heal? Or was it just too difficult to find a second place to live? to sort of upend your life when everything else was upended? Are they divorcing now because circumstances are better for a split, or because all that time together made them face the realization that this is no longer working? Or did the drama of these last 2 years, the boredom, the depression, the isolation, the financial concerns, the loss of the village to take care of your children, did the unexpected anxiety and overnight social transformations prove too much, even for marriages that were once strong? We don't know. It's just a reality we're living into. On a quirkier note, people are opting for comfort in unexpected ways. A nation that valued the daily shower has downgraded personal hygiene. Here in Midtown, where jackets and ties have defined the landscape for 100 years, men are leaving suits at home, and women have thrown off their high heels. Scrunchies may never make their way back after Carrie Bradshaw declared that no New York woman would be caught dead outside her bathroom in one, but leggings, yoga pants, even sweatpants have found their way to New York City streets. And some of that has to do with people not working from work so much these days. Remote work was normalized nearly overnight. I mean, really, it was overnight, right? It was like a Sunday, and things were okay, and then on Monday, we were all working from home. Like, it was overnight. It happened on March 15th. That night, everything changed. Monday, everyone is home. Millions of people left and didn't come back to work. Major corporations are struggling to get people to show up more than 2 days a week now that the American workforce has experienced life without commutes. If you used to spend your days in front of a computer, at a desk, at work, you're likely now spending your days in front of a computer, at a desk, in your home, in leggings, maybe a scrunchie. The nature of work has become fodder for experts of all kinds, each wondering if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Is it good that we don't mingle with colleagues so often? Has it reduced discrimination? Has it reduced favoritism? Has it reduced microaggressions? Has it reduced productivity? Has it increased any of those things? I mean, it's been liberating for workers, but there are some real open questions about the loss of casual conversation that can move things along quickly and build necessary relationships that help people socially and professionally. These are part of a larger cultural shift inspired by this pandemic. People are asking for what they want. I mean, when I think about one of the key changes, people are asking for what they want. They want to work from home. They want to live in the country. They want a slower lifestyle. They want relationships that are supportive and joyful. They want to prioritize health. They want to work full-time but still be able to pick up their kids from school. They want flexibility, comfort, balance. I mean, these were things that people wanted before, but now we're feeling empowered. We're feeling like, wow, if we could do what we did in that lockdown and that major shift, why can't we have some of these other things? Or maybe it's just that we're so traumatized by recent events that we're having trouble getting back into our lives. Maybe our lives were just too busy and we're too exhausted and we haven't processed this trauma yet and we just can't go back. And maybe both of those things are true. And some of it is good. And some of it poses significant challenge. And getting people to work is harder, and it is more costly. The Great Resignation, as it's been called, included critical parts of our society, like teachers and healthcare workers, creating significant gaps in our social fabric. Some schools are bringing college students in to teach. Some are bringing in soldiers. I had to sit with that one for a long time. They're bringing in soldiers. Some shortened the school week to 4 days so that they could share staff. Waits in emergency rooms have lengthened. Services like access to an ambulance have been reduced. Therapists and psychiatrists have left their practices in droves, thwarting our attempts to address that mental health crisis. Many of these people left because the workloads were unrealistic, making success seem impossible. But many in each of these fields report leaving because the divisions in American society are too intense, that they don't want to be on the front lines, which happened for both the medical and the educational professions. People who just didn't want their competence to be questioned by people with no credentials or even trust in the facts. The impulse to quit has also reached clergy for a lot of reasons, mostly the same kinds of reasons. This number was really interesting to me, 47%. 47% of America's clergy report wanting to leave. It's an astounding number. And just so you know, I'm not one of them. But that's such a number. That's huge to think of any profession where 47% want to leave or are actively looking to leave. So I'm not sure about the relationship between that reality and this next one, but I know that there is one. Churches are closing. Small churches can't find ministers across denominations. Before the pandemic, many clergy were surviving on part-time salaries or working 2 or 3 different churches. And while I'm personally interested in the state of religion in America, it's good to note that all voluntary associations, all places where people have historically gone because they wanted to rather than because they had to, they've all experienced these marked decline in numbers. People just aren't showing up. They're not going to libraries. They're not offering to sit on nonprofit boards. They're not serving in soup kitchens or food pantries or in just about any other traditionally voluntary role or group. And they're not going to church. We don't have the solid numbers on that, but every clergy person I know in every denomination has said numbers are down, sometimes way down. For some churches in some places, they're alarmingly down. Staff positions are being cut across the board, which generally means a sign of decline and a move toward closure, which we're seeing also quickly nationally. The energy spikes around religion right now are in very conservative circles, where people are feeling empowered by the end of reproductive rights, the elimination of women's rights over our bodies, and a court poised to make equally radical decisions in this upcoming term. Having worked for decades for just that outcome, extremist right-wing churches are abuzz, and their rhetoric has become central to our political process and this upcoming election. So I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't really tell you what's next. And if we're looking through that crack in the wall, I don't know. Nobody knows. But I do have a sense of what we're going to need if we're going to move through. First, we have to be patient with each other. This comes up over and over, and it seems to be quite a challenge. So let me say this again. We have to be patient with each other. We have to remember compassion. When someone makes a mistake, when someone is late, when someone doesn't follow through, patience is going to serve all of us well. When someone is prioritizing their health or seeking balance in a way that doesn't align with your timeline, patience will be the lubricant or the healing balm we all need. Everything is changing. No one knows what to expect. No one knows what the new norms are. Deep breaths and a reminder that no one knows will serve us all as we move through this threshold. Next, institutions, and for our sake, religious institutions, need to get serious about who we are and why we exist. We've been resting on our laurels for decades. It's time for us to ask some really difficult questions of ourselves. Are we necessary? Are we relevant? Do people living in this cultural moment require what we're offering? How do we ensure that we're strong and healthy and focused? How do we eliminate distraction and obstruction so we can live into our mission? I think we're being challenged. We're being forced to justify our existence. I think it's a fair question. Should religious institutions exist? And if so, prove it. Third, and this is related, progressives need to hone our message and get organized. There is a fight looming, and it is going to be ugly. We have lost 50 years. We once again have to push for women's rights, for voting rights, for nuclear disarmament. We're entering a new Cold War. We're going to need discipline and vision, because this is a national fight. And if we're honest, the global winds are pushing against us. The driving factor here, the engine that might get progressives clear and disciplined, and religious institutions focused, and even inspire individuals to practice patience as the new world reveals itself, the inspiration is hope. It's what kept us in our homes when we hated that isolation. We were acting as if our individual decisions could reduce risk for the whole. We were living out of that hope that we could affect change. It's what brings us to the streets to fight for injustice, or fires us up when we're making phone calls to swing states. We believe our society can live into our values. I'd venture to say that hope is the reason many of us keep showing up here. We come to tap into that source. We know there's something better, that we can heal our trauma, that we can act out of love and compassion, rejecting the fear responses we see being played out in too many arenas. Holding up the parts of this new normal that are healthy, that are serving as a reboot, that are reminding us of our deepest values, that's what's next. We're taking inventory, sharing a deep collective breath. We're gathering our strength. The world has changed, and it is changing, and we are changing with it. So let's lean into this opportunity, the gift of this rare and unexpected invitation into a new world. Please rise in body or in spirit. Let's sing together the Fire of Commitment. It's number 1028 in the teal hymnal.
From the
Amen. Life at Community Church is busy, whether we are online or in person. It is our hope that wherever you are, and in whatever way you are comfortable engaging in the mission and ministry of this church, we have provided opportunities for you. Every week, for a total of 6 weeks, Reverend Peggy is meeting with members to talk about covenant. Everyone is encouraged to join one of these conversations as a way to begin this year's theme and to start the work of living in covenanted relationship. This week, she will be on Zoom at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Please let her know you're coming so she can give you the sign-in information. Sunday, October 16th, is Arts Sunday. It is the first of what will be an annual event. 2 of our own will talk, and we'll be bringing in a dancer from the Omega Dance Company. We hope you'll be here to join us. And we have an important announcement about worship times. Hoping this is good news for many of you. We are going to start worship at 2 p.m. rather than 3 p.m., starting on October 30th. We are a 7-day church and have programs running every day of the week. You can find more information in the program and on our website. Our ushers are going to pass a plate for our collection. If you are new here, please let the plate go by you with no pressure to give. We are glad for your presence. All gifts offered are accepted in gratitude.
Let us together extinguish our chalice. The words are in your program. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together, so our light goes out everywhere into the world. Our light goes out everywhere into the world where healing and hope are needed. Let us go in peace to love and serve this world and one another. Amen.